Hey guys, welcome to this part. Before going forward, let us discuss what we learned in the last part. In the last part, first thing we did it, we fixed our bug which was used to show hello, then the static username. Now it is showing hello, then the username whatever the user inputs. Then we tried and solved this problem using the variables, and we learned that variable is a way we can share the data between two activities. Then we learned how to create the variables, how to use the variables. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the little bit in depth about variables, how to declare it, what are the data types, and all about knowing whatever you wanted to know about variables. It will be discussed in this particular part. So as I have already mentioned you, variables are the memory location which is used to hold any value. That means it's kind of container. In a layman words, you can put any value which can be shared between the activities, and this variable value will be changed. That means you can change the variable once it is declared. It the biggest thing to know about variables is the variables are always specific. That means it will hold a specific type of data. That means suppose if you have created any number, then you can and you have a variable of something float or something which is a fractional number. In that case, you can't store these values in interchangeably. Yes, you can convert it if the data type is compatible with each other. That means you can convert the double data type or the float data type or the fraction or decimal number to the int or vice versa. The main most important part of the variables is to share the data between the activities. If you want to share something and the data some data between the two activities, then the first activity need to put the data in the container, and the second activity will read that particular value from the container. As I told you, data types is the most important part of these variables in the UiPath, and this data type is used to define a type of a variable so that it contain the same type of data. If one variable is declared one type, it cannot store other type of data. Yes, theoretically it is possible. If the two data types are compatible, then we can convert one data type to another data type. But there is some limitation on that also. So every variable need to be declared or created in the UiPath before you are using it. In UiPath, there are two types of variables. One is the predefined or all .NET types. Another is custom types. So in the predefined or .NET types, there are numbers, bools, strings, array. There are many other data types. Whatever is available for .NET, those are purely available for UiPath. Then suppose there is a requirement which is not fulfilled by our .NET type or our predefined type. In that case, we can define our own data type. In this case, let us talk about this account. So there is no data type called account in the .NET or UiPath. So account is kind of business object for our specific process. So this account, we need the account in such a way that it can store ID, name, balance. It is so many other properties and so many other values it can hold. In this case, we can create our custom types and we will use it. So let me, before going to the demo, let me discuss one thing. This custom type I am not going to discuss in this particular part. It's a huge topic. So going forward, we'll be slowly when we'll transit to the advanced topics, we'll be discussing about this. It's really fun. You'll love it. Now let us jump to our demo and see. Now I flip to my system. So I have already opened the UiPath, and this is the program which we fixed in the last part. So by default, we created a variable, this one, mm, to share the data between this particular, sorry, to share the data between to get the data from here and to send the data here in the yeah, to this particular message box. And So we named it as variable 1. Okay, so this is variable 1. So let us jump and learn a little bit more about this particular variables. So every variable, as I told you, every variable need to be declared before use, or you need to create the variable before using it. So to create a variable, so we can create it in three ways. One is here in the panel. Generally, it used to be collapsed here in the below. Okay, here, and from the ribbon here. So that's the first thing you have to do. You have to create a variable. So in this case, in the last particular part, we have created a variable having its name variable 1. Then we declared, then by default it was a string data type. Then it was the scope is hello sequence, and there is no default value. So let's create another variables with the name. Okay, otherwise, before creating that, let us discuss about each of these things. So name is basically which represents the value of the the name of the variable by which you can access that particular value, and we can put the value to that particular variable. So in this case, by default, it is variable 1. So let us change it to something which is suppose user str user name. Okay, this way we can change it here. When you press enter, then it will change everywhere it is basically accessed. If you go to here, yes, it's changed now, right? So the next part is talking about the variables type. This is what are you here. Okay, so by default it is a string data type. Whenever you create any variable data types from here, it will set the variable type to string. So by default, we have this many data types available in this particular panel. That is Boolean in 32. In 32 is basically a data type which can hold numbers, then object, then array of t, and browse of types. That means we can browse for other .NET types from here. So first, let us discuss about string data type. String data type is used to hold strings or characters or text. This is basically holding. Suppose you want to type a line. Just in this case, we type the name. Okay. In that case, we can go with the string data type, Boolean. A Boolean data type comes into the picture when there is a requirement of taking the decision. Suppose the name is, if the name is empty, then don't show this message or ask the user again to input the username. In that case, we can declare the data type of bool. Bool is generally it has two values, like true or false. So this is correct, right? It can either a condition can might be true or might be false. There is no third other thing. So int is generally used to store numbers like 1, then 2, 3, those kind of numbers. It can store it here. Object is a concept of .NET framework which is used to store almost every data type. It can store a integer data type, it can store a string, bool. Almost every data type is it can store. So array is basically a list of elements. Suppose you want to store numbers like uh, 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and you want to use then you want to add 1 plus 1, then 2 plus 1, like adding one or doing operation with individual elements, or to hold a list of elements, we can go with array. The array of t is little bit advanced concept, we'll go to there, but not now, in the future videos, because if we will discuss these things, it will be very hard, and there is no context, contextual match between my application and wherever the stage we are, and the array of t. Apart from that, suppose you want to change this variable name, sorry, variable types, then you can go ahead and change it from the drop down list. Suppose we selected here boolean. You can see the symbols here, right? That means there is some error here. So what is the error? Let us see. So if you see, it is saying one or more child have the validation error warning. That means we are in the container. So it shows that way. Let us go to here. And the next. Okay. So they good or bad thing, I don't know. But in the UiPath, there is no specific error. Okay. What exactly the issue is? Sometime it will give you, and sometime it is not. I don't know why it is, but it is there, and we have to live with that. So the issue here is I have already told you. The here the data type we are picking taking is a integer data type, and I already told you we you cannot hold a integer data type. Sorry, let me change my color of the pointer. It's make it red. Okay, make it red then. Yes, now it is. Okay, so we have declared here the data type is string, right? And I already told you if the data types are not compatible, we cannot convert one data type to another. That means now str username name is a bool data type. Okay, and we are trying to store it's a string data type. That means it's a username, whatever the user inputs, it's a string data type. So this particular, if you are declaring a variable of boolean type, then it can store true values. I told you, right? True. I'm bad at typing especially, so don't count on this. It can store a true or FLSC, right? Either it can store true or false. But in this case, we are trying to store a username, suppose John or something. Okay, but it is expecting to expecting a true value, that it either true or false. In that case, the data types are not compatible. So it shows the exception saying I cannot store this particular John or username whatever to a data type which can hold only true or false. So this is the issue here. Theoretically, we can convert it, but not in this case because true it can hold only true and false. John is not neither a true nor a false. Okay, so it's a completely wrong. We cannot store it. Let us talk about the next one, that is int. Okay, so int is I already told you int can store numbers. So let us change int and see. Is no, still this error is there. If you convert to string, let us see. Okay, now the error is gone because whatever the user enters, it is completely compatible, and string data type is capable of storing text values. Now let us okay, this one. So let us create another variable from the ribbon. So it will you'll get the contextual idea how from like how you can use this ribbon to create variables also. So here, especially if you see the names is a little bit different here than there. It's a little bit descriptive, I would say. So if you check it here, first you can create a generic value. Okay, whatever we showed in the below, like here, it's a string variable or type of t. It's basically generic. So these, let me put give you a little bit of idea, not whole because otherwise it will be a kind of missing part here. Generic is a kind of data type which can hold any type of data. Any type of data means suppose there is a, I told you, right? There is okay. So suppose the it's a variable name is a var1. Okay. In one case it can store number 1. In other case it can store a text, that means some value. In another case, it might store a bool value, either true or false value. Okay, so it's a kind of container which is generic, and we can hold any type of data. We can put it any type of data here. Okay, so let us discuss about this thing. So text is basically the string, whatever we learned in the below here. Okay, it's a text data type. Then number is same as number, which is we use to store the data of number type. That means a 1 2 3. That is similar to in 32. You can see it here. Okay, and date time. Okay, date time is a data type when you want to store some specific data. Sorry, date time. Suppose in the example I showed you, right, the account. Okay, suppose in the account there is a property called account created date. Okay, suppose it's a created date. It can store. So what exactly we are trying to store here? When the account is got created and its time. So in that case, we can create a field to or we can create a variables with this numbers things. Okay. So yeah, number things. Okay. Then true or false, whatever is true or false here, you will find it as a bool value. Okay, boolean. This one. Okay, and table data type. Okay, if you see the options here in the Riven is a little bit different and a little bit descriptive than here. So over time, while working with this particular tool, then you'll understand. It'll be easier for you to understand and make the relation between this Riven and this particular panel. For now, just select either of one. Okay, either go with the create variables, otherwise go with this particular panel. So it will be easier for you to remember the things. Okay, now let us declare a variable of bool. It's created, and we'll declare it as a boolean. Okay, sequence is something. Let us okay, so it's a boolean type. Now let us create something from here. Okay, what we'll create variables we have gone already. Bool is created. Then we'll go with date time. Okay, if you see in the panel, and this particular create variable Riven, the way it is asking for the values is different, right? Here it will simply give you a row, and here you have to enter the variable's name, then variable type, and whatever the values whatever it will ask you, you can put it here. But if you see here, it will give you a pop-up. Okay, one pop-up will come out, and you have to give the variable name, and if you want you can give it a default value, whatever is similar to here. And if you want to make it global or not, in that case it is here. So one thing you have to remember here, if you want to create a global variable, in that case you can easily create it from create variable from here in the particular rival. So now let us create another variable. Suppose str. Why I'm putting it as a str? It's a naming convention. I'll in going forward I will give you a little bit idea what in the advanced chapter when you are going to develop a project, how important the naming convention is. So yeah, just for identifying easily, I put it a user sorry, str user, then account name. Okay, okay, account name holder, account name, anything, account name, and default value I'm giving it nothing. Global variable I will not put it anything. Now I will create it. Okay, so this is the thing this is the thing I forgot to mention you before. Let us learn what the error is here. No scope activity found variable can be created in the scope. I'll come to in this context, but let me tell you one thing. You cannot create any variables. Okay, you cannot create any variables without any activity. At least you need a minimum of one activity to create variables. Okay, so in this case, what happened? Okay, this is all about the scopes. That is the third column here. Okay. So whenever we create a particular variable, it has a scope. Okay, so scope means where exactly it is visible. That means from where we can use it. Suppose, suppose we have created a variable. Let me create a box. We have created a variable here in this particular scope. That means hello message box. It's a theoretical information I am giving. Don't take it. Okay, so otherwise, what you will do, we'll bring a another activity, another sequence, and we'll see. So for creating a sequence, I will just go to in the favorite. I have already did it. So you can drag it and put it here. Otherwise, what you can do it, you can write a sequence here. Okay, so in both the cases, it will come to here. In this case, I am dragging and putting it here. Now I'll put, I will rename it as sequence child because it is inside. Okay, let us change this name to parent sequence and otherwise, what I will do. Okay, let us create another project itself, so that will be easier. So I'm right clicking here because it's maybe we need it in future. Uh, let us open another and let us try to create one. Okay, continue free. I did it, and now I am creating. Now we'll put it variable, and because our project is a variable, then I will copy the same. Then I will put it in the description. Okay, now create it. It takes a little bit of time. Then we'll go to activity. Now we'll drag and drop it. Okay, before dragging and drop, I told you, right? You cannot create any variables without any activity. So let us try it here. If you see, there is no option, okay, to create it. And there is no row where we can go and type it. Let us try from here, creatable text. Okay, variable one. Then I will try to. Okay, so we are getting we get the same error whatever we showed in the previous project. So now let us drag and drop our sequence activity. Okay, I dropped the sequence section. Okay, you saw that, right? As soon as I drop this one, this new line came in here. Okay, so if, suppose if I had just just put it pretty like keep concentration eye on this. Okay, I'm just going to and deleting it. Now it is gone. So if you see, they're giving a little bit of hints here also. Select an activity to set a variable scope. It's not specific. That means it is not saying there is no sequence. It is thinking that there is no particular. It's not saying there is no activity available here, but it is saying that no activity is selected because let me drag and drop a sequence. Okay, name it sequence one. Okay, name it sequence one. Okay, so if you see here, and if you will create a variable, so by default it will take to the sequence one. Okay, because we have already selected sequence one. Let us do put another sequence inside that. Okay, so let us change its name to sequence. Okay, whatever sequence one is, fine with me. So we'll go with sequence two, enter. Okay, now I have selected the sequence two. Now I'll create another variable. Okay, noticed here. Did you notice here, right? So when I selected sequence one in the here in the activity, it will create by a variable with this default scope to that particular sequence. So if I'll select to sequence two, then it will create a variable with scope to sequence two. You got idea, some idea, right? How exactly it happens. Now, what was the problem with this one? When I created, why it did not create it? Okay, so suppose let us try with by selecting a sequence one, then we'll go to variables and this one. Okay, now we'll try to create a variable 3. Okay, if you see, it created a variable with sequence 1. Okay, and this by default it's set to the sequence 2, scope is 1. Now if you want to create something, which suppose we did not select here something, and you want to create a variable which is create a variable, in that case if you have seen that it's a global option is there, right? If you just click it, okay, it will create a variable in the global scope. Okay, that means it will be available to all the activities in the particular process. Global is just basically it will take to the topmost activity whatever is there. Okay, global is not kind of virtual, it will always take to the topmost one, that means this one. Okay, in this case we have this one, so we take it this one. So before that, suppose I will put a another sequence and I will and will do the same in that case. Okay, let me put it this way. Whatever is the topmost activity, the container activity, it will go. If global means, that means it will create a variable on that on there. Now let us talk about the scope. Okay, in depth. Why it is there? Now if you see here, it's a little bit yellow. That means I have selected the sequence one. In the sequence one, if you see variable 1, variable 3, variable 4. Where is the variable 2? We have already created a variable 2, but it is not present here. Okay, then let us select sequence 2. Okay, if you see here, variable 2 is present here. Okay, not when we select it sequence 1, because if you see here the scope is sequence 1. Okay, if I am going here, if I see this sequence is sequence 2. Apart from that, I am able to see all those variables. Okay, whatever scope is sequence 1. Okay, why is it so? Okay, this depend on the basic concept. Okay, a child can access all the properties or all the variables which is present in the parent sequence, but a parent sequence cannot access anything which is available in the child sequence. That means any variables. Okay, can sequence. So in this case, if you see sequence 1 is a parent, and and sequence 2 is a child. Okay, so child can access the variable of parent. Okay, so if you see variable 1, variable 3, variable 4, those are three variables we declared in the parent. Okay, so only these three values are available here. If you go to child sequence, it contains its own variables. That means if you see the child scope, and it contains all the variables of the parent. Okay, all the parent variables are here. This is the important thing we learned. Another thing important point, let me tell you. Suppose this all happened. Now I just wanted to create another variable with another sequence. Let me put it this sequence inside that. Okay, child of 1, child of 2. Okay, child of 2 created. Now let me create a variable having name similar to this one. Suppose, so you saw that, right? By default, when you will select any row, in an empty row it will create a variable with a default name. Now I will change this name to 2. Let us see what happens. Okay, as soon as I did it, it created the variable here in the context menu, but with a error. Okay, so what error it is giving? It's saying variable 2 is already declared in the scope. Okay, that means it is talking about this one. Variable 2 is already declared here. Okay, you cannot create another variable. Okay, so it's saying you cannot create another variable here. Yeah, that's the error you will basically get here in the both the places. It will say you cannot create a variable with same name. let me explain you the concept behind it. So according to the UiPath, you cannot create a variable in any scope, okay, having the same parent scope, parent activity. Suppose there is a variable here in the parent one. You cannot create any variables with the same name in any other activity inside that. Okay, this is the basic concept of this one. Okay, that means in a particular workflow or particular process here, okay, you can't create a variable with same name. Okay, the variable name should be different even though their scope is different. Okay, you cannot put the same name. This is the most important concept here. Okay, so then this is what suppose you want to create a int value, then we can set the okay, let us, you cannot keep the strings here, right? If you see here, it is again showing a compilation error in counter processing. It's basically disallowing implicit conversion. Okay, so if you see this particular line, okay, so it's saying implicit conversion from string to boolean is not possible. No, what that's what I told you before. So what value? Uh, Sorry, friends. Actually, my battery was running out, so I had to pause the recording here and restart again. Okay, so here we'll be in the last particular before this. What we are exactly discussing is we created a variable for and we set the variable type as boolean and scope is to the parent, and we are trying to assign a value that means mm, uh, a string variable. In that case, we got this particular error which was showing implicitly we cannot convert any string to a boolean. Now let us put it, and remember one thing, whenever you want to declare a string, you cannot directly do it. I told you in some other parts. Okay, suppose I just want to try if it's a text. It is a text. It will not happen. It will give you a same compilation error. It will not in it will not consider it as a string. Okay, so to make anything string, just you have to put that particular thing in between the double quotes. Okay, in that case it will be a string, otherwise it will give you an error, compilation error. Okay, now we'll put boolean value, that means true. True. Okay, so if you see true, it is taking it. So now you'll ask, okay, so now you'll ask how to put false then. Okay, let us put false then. Okay, now it's taking. So if the question is, can we store a true or false in the string data type? Yes, we can, but it is not a boolean data type no more. It's a string which is a true. That means a true string. You can say like whenever you are writing something, it's similar to writing something in the notepad, right? You can write it anything. It's everything is a texting. Okay, if you see, I can write here if false false. I can write it false false here also. So that is similar to that. So it's not a boolean data type. We cannot make any decision on the top of that. Yeah. Okay, friends. That's it for this particular video. In the next video, we'll be discussing we'll go a little bit depth and we'll discuss something more. For this video, this much, friends. So in the next part, we'll be discussing more advanced concept and we'll be build something meaningful to us. If you have any doubts or comment, you can put it in the comment box. I will be putting soon. I will be putting my email address here so that you can communicate over email also. If you like this video, just press the like button. If you don't like this video, also click the dislike button. So I'll be by getting your feedback, I can improve this tutorials. If you have not subscribed to this channel to get the some notification for this kind of videos, just put it just click that subscribe button so I can You will get the notification whenever I will upload any video related to this particular technology. Thanks. Thanks for watching.